What's your first impression when you take a look at this picture? Do you feel fear, horror, insecurity, or maybe sympathy? Or maybe you just remained emotionless and we got used to see these pictures every day in our lives and we prefer to take no action because we are not affected. How about this one? Did you perhaps scrunch up your face in disgust? Actually, I did. As a person who was growing up in the Middle East, I was surrounded by these pictures in every moment of my life. But I got to a point that I thought, I cannot do anything for them, so let's just forget about them. Let's not care anymore. But in August 2016, when I saw this picture, it teared me apart. I thought, there has to be a way to help them. There are no more excuses. I thought, it doesn't matter how powerful or how wealthy I am, but it matters how much I care. So I decided to take action. Let's take a look at how I started my journey. I started to do some research about the reality of life in the war zone. And your guesses are as good as mine. If you're living in the war zone, the feeling of the fear of death is in every moment of your life. And it's not just about your life, it's also about the feeling of the fear of death of your families, your friends, the people that you love. Even if you survived, most of the places have bombarded. So there's no place to live in. There's no place to belong. There's not even a safe place together with your family, having those family times together and having those moments of sharing love that you need. So the reality is that there is no dream. It's all about nightmares. Nightmares of being killed, being injured, losing families and friends. For those of you who may need numbers to feel this tragedy by heart, this statistic shows the number of exposed children in war threats. UNICEF noted that in the last decade, more than 250 million children were affected by war. About 2 million of them have been killed. Over 6 million of them were forced to flee their countries and they have been displaced. About 12 million children have been disabled or injured. And the last but not the least, over 300,000 of them are child soldiers. They are conducting 30 armed conflicts across the world. Now my question is that I as a designer and you in any other position, what can we do for them? How can we help them? How can we support them to have a better life in this situation so they are not going to end up being like this? War is not a new social issue. It was happening in the past, it's happening now, and it's going to happen in the future. In the past 3,400 years of humans living on the earth, we were in total peace for just 268 years. It means less than 8% of the recorded history. If I could convince enough to take action, now you may ask, so what are their needs? How can we solve them? Based on this pyramid, we all know that we as humans have some basic needs that are more based on our physiological needs. Then in the second level, we have to be concerned about our safety and security. And the highest level is about fulfilling our dreams and fulfilling our emotional needs. According to my research, I found out that as the number of refugees is growing so fast, the average time of a person being displaced now is almost 20 years. It could mean the entire childhood, the entire adulthood, or for some of them, the entire life. So it's time to consider not only the basic needs such as food, water, or medicines, but also considering to fulfill their dreams and the hope for their future. It seems that there is no future, but what if we share love with them? Remember those times that you're sitting in your room alone, feeling depressed? You are supposed to make an important decision for your future? Probably you would make one of the worst ones. But if you remember that you have families and friends somewhere in the world, they are concerning about you, you would think again and try to make a better decision to make them happy. I believe that it could be the same for those children. If they know that they have somebody somewhere in the world thinking about them, they would try to do their best for their future. And they will be a hope for them to make it happen. Now, you may ask, so can we send them love? How can we share hope with them? It seems easy. Kids love to play. And they don't need something expensive or so fancy. They just need a simple toy. If you give them that simple toy, they would start playing in a creative way that we cannot even imagine. And they are going to have lots of fun with that. I wanted to design a toy for them. I'm a toy designer and they loved it. So I started to travel to some of those war-torn countries to understand that context better. And I watched tons of documentaries to see the realities in the different areas. And I got to a point that I thought, okay, even if I design a new toy and convince some people to make that toy, nobody's gonna pay for that. Nobody's gonna buy those toys to send it there, so it's gonna be another toy. So I kind of gave up on this idea. And I started to do more research about the way that agencies and NGOs send packages and products to those areas to understand the whole process better, to maybe get some inspiration. And I found out that most of the packages are made out of cardboard. It doesn't matter what's inside those packages, whether it's food, medicine, or any other products, the package itself is out of cardboard. An idea popped up in my mind. I thought, why not using that? Probably you could guess the potential answer. I thought, I can use the cardboard. It's gonna be so easy because I don't need to convince them anymore. They are already sending these packages. So there's a high potential of in using those cardboards. I thought if I can just add some die cuts, prints, and some instructions on like inner flaps or even on the sheets that they use on the bottom of these packages or between the products, those children will have access to this design so easy. They can tear these pieces apart, put the pieces together, and start making their own toys following these instructions. And based on the size of the packages, it could be something as small as these ones or as big as these ones. There's more potential on these big ones to give them like larger scale products to have more fun. And with the same approach, we can even design for educational purposes or or many other needs that they have. I would like to share some of my solutions and products that I designed based on their needs. First scenario, we know that children need emotional support from their parents, but unfortunately, in that situation, they don't have it. Sometimes because parents are struggling with lots of other issues, and in some other cases because there's no parent, they already missed them. And I thought, okay, it could be easy. Kids love to do role playing. If I give them some role play sets like this one or this one, now I could be your teacher. Now I'm the king, or I'm your father. So they can easily support each other emotionally. The second scenario, many of them mentioned in the documentaries that during the day that they are playing together and they have their friends around, they feel good. They usually forget about the traumas they have been through, but during the night, it's another story. Usually in refugee camps, they don't have electricity during the night. So everywhere is just dark, and they are scared of this darkness because it reminds them those bad memories that they had. And then they usually just have a small source of light. I thought, why not taking advantage of this darkness and this light? Probably all of you remember during your childhood playing with shadow puppets. It's kind of hard for them to try to make real shadows, but if we gave them just some tiny figures, now I have a giraffe on the wall, now I have another snail here, and they can use it as a ring or like as a bracelet, so it could be easier for them to play with. Another story is that kids love to make and they love to imagine. What's the combination of that? It's simple. Like construction sets, all of you had these sets when you were like a child, so they can start making their own car, making their own house, or even a tiny playground to play. Here, it's about a hard task that they have in their daily life. Sometimes when they need foods or medicines, they have to walk for almost 1 hour or sometimes 2 hours to get that food. And it's such a boring task for them. I thought, why not adding some fun to that moment? They have to walk, so it could be like footprints. If they have lots of these pieces, like different species, like animals, they can easily start chasing each other on the way to find the winner at the end, and then on the way back they could just easily collect all of these pieces for another day and another game. Many of them lost their friends, their families, and it seems that for them it's like they lost a piece of their heart, and they don't feel confident anymore because they think they couldn't do anything for the people that they loved. I thought if they could collect some badges of honors when they help each other, it could be nice for them. It gives them that hope for the future, that they can do something. Like, I can be a peacemaker, or if I help my friend, I can be a best friend, or a supportive sister, or many other badges. Kids love to play outside, but usually there is nothing to play on that area. No playground, no other facilities, it's just all about mud and dust. It's a nice opportunity if they could play outside because they will have their friends around and it helps them forget about other stuff. So my idea is to giving them a large-scale board game. Their dream is to go back home. So the purpose of this game could be going back home. And then by having these arrows, they can make new rules. They can just easily put these pieces randomly on the ground, and they even have blank spaces so they can draw or make new rules. So each day they will have a new game and it's not going to be boring anymore. The last but not the least idea, they mentioned that they really missed watching TV, the TV shows, the cartoons that they were used to see with their families and friends, and they had fun, but they don't have it anymore. Isn't it fun to give them this tiny TV so they can make their own figures, having their own show? Or even if they remove this piece of TV and adding the curtains here, they will have a tiny theater show. Another opportunity is to remove all of these pieces, and now I can act on as a reporter, as an actress, as an athlete, or any other rule that they love to be in their future. As a wrap-up of my ideas, I would like to share the challenges that I've been through. It was hard for me because I had to keep my ideas as generic as possible. So NGOs could easily send the same ideas and system of toys to different areas. The second issue was about being aware of culture. I didn't want to be offensive to their cultures. Then I had to keep it gender inclusive so they can easily play together. And then I made different toys and games so it can include different age groups and not just a specific age. And then about the material, it's one of the most accessible materials in those areas, and it's one of the cheapest, so they don't need to be worried about the price anymore. Now I would like to ask you to do me a favor. If I could encourage you to take action, and if you found this idea as worthy, like sharing, please share it. Please help me to make this idea happen. Second, I want to ask you to find your own creative way. If there's a will, there's a way. And please, please, please don't get used to this tragedy. I would like to warn all of us once more with this quote by Chuck Palahniuk. If we don't claim our humanity, we will become a statistic. Don't become a statistic. Thank you.